local pariah Chip Whistler is presumed dead after the wreckage from his helicopter has been found.
Chip's dead. Chip's dead. Chip's dead. Nobody could have survived that crash.
Then I guess I'm a nobody. Oh, wait, that's not what I meant. I want revenge on them all! We're gonna destroy everyone in Big City. Chip Whistler is back, baby!
Oh no, that's a bad lesson.
A few years back, I got really into big city greens. We were deep in lockdown, and I, like most people, was deep in depression. So I turned to the funny drawings that move so my brain would make the happy chemicals. While I was tuning into shows like Amphibia and The Owl House every Saturday, I also got acquainted with the Greens family, and it wasn't long before I got sucked into all the drama going on in this show. As although Big City Greens is a mostly episodic series, there is still a ton of continuity and status quo changes throughout it. Gloria went from a barista at Big Coffee to running her own cafe. The Greens went from living in the city to moving back to the country to now living at both places at the same time, going back and forth whenever they want. The greatest example of continuity in Big City Greens, though, has to be with its villain, Chip Whistler. A corrupt businessman whose entire career crumbles because bro cannot stop beefing with kids.
What? Yeah, that's right, baby! Chip!
Chip tried to ease the Greens into a corporate merger by selling their produce exclusively in Wholesome Foods. And when things didn't pan out, he made it his mission to put them out of business. A feud that kept escalating until this man was blowing up coffee shops, forging petitions, and nearly chopping up kids with his chopper. And then he died. Or so we thought. After being absent for an entire season, a move I really respect by the way, Chip is back. How did he cheat death? And what are his next moves now that the Greens are back in the big city? Since I covered Chip's arc back in 2021, today I want to catch up with Big City Greens and see what's in store for the corrupt CEO that we all love to hate. Let's talk about the return of Chip Whistler. Also, if you're new to the channel or feeling a stroll down memory lane, be sure to check out Roundtable Rewind, a new channel that has a bunch of Roundtable videos old and new, re-edited into theme compilations. We got 4 out right now on Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Regular Show, and a variety of cartoon topics that you can check out, with more on the way. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's get into it. After his ominous cameo at the end of Season 3, the show finally gives us the rundown of what Chip's been up to in the Season 4 episode Chipped Off, which is pretty much all exposition and laying the groundwork for his role moving forward. As it turns out, Chip used a parachute to evade the helicopter crash, only to discover that the world believes he's dead, as his body wasn't found at the scene of the crash. And his death is being celebrated by the masses. Nobody's mourning this bum. Come to think of it, his dad didn't even reach out to see if he's alive. Chip truly has no one, and the only person he has to blame for that is himself. And just to rub salt in the very open wound, the mayor makes it clear that even if Chip miraculously survived, he'd still be banned from the city. Rejected and jaded, Chip begins to spiral yet again. He masquerades as a ghost and breaks into the Greens' residence in an attempt to scare them off into the country, only for Gloria to break the news that they already moved of their own accord. Without a mega corporation to run and no family to harass, Chip has no purpose, no sense of direction, nothing to make him happy. He fantasizes about different career paths, yet none of them really sound all that appealing. But everything changes after Chip converses with a random citizen, wanting to understand how this man seems so well adjusted and unbothered all the time. To which the dude says, I don't know, I'm just a chill guy. He doesn't need high aspirations and a dream career to be happy. He just needs to be a normie. His words, not mine.
I'm gonna be a normie!
Committed to reinventing himself, Chip creates the alter ego, Norm Alguy. Very subtle. Wearing glasses and fake teeth, he blends in perfectly, picking up hobbies and a normal 9-to-5, alongside entering a brand new relationship with a woman he only refers to as Babe, while he thinks is a clever nickname, and not, you know, something a majority of people call their partners. I think this really goes to show that Chip isn't fully invested in his new life. I'm not convinced he even knows this lady's real name. He's not into any of this because completing these tasks and connecting with these people makes him happy. He's into it because the community who rejected him at large now adores him. Or at least, they adore Norm. But he won't be content with Norm hogging all the attention for long. Not when Chip still has a score to settle. A chip on his shoulder? It's been a long year, please let me have that one. The cracks begin to show as Chip starts to notice things about Norm's life. The barista's chummy with him, he's entrusted with more work, and his girlfriend can't get enough of his shitty jokes. As Norm, he thinks it's all a little condescending. Why'd you call me an extra cool guy, huh? You think I'm trying too hard or something? Extra work at the office, huh? The paychecks better be getting bigger. And as Chip, he just wants to know why everyone loves Norm so damn much. And why didn't they adore him like this when he wasn't living a lie? Well, I mean, he was kind of living a lie so people would stop boycotting him, but you know what I mean. Everyone loved Norm. Everyone but Chip. The breaking point arrives in the form of doppelgangers that I can only describe as we got the Green family at home. The Walmart versions of our second beloved yellow-toned family. Walmart Cricket, let's just call him Croquet, absolutely hates this man and is ready to pounce on him like a rabid dog. Although, to be fair, Chip was itching to relapse as soon as he saw an obnoxious little kid. Disturbed by this encounter, Chip is left seething and desperate for revenge, although his beef is very clearly still with Cricket and not Dennis the Menace over here. His mini meltdown also causes Babe to realize that she might be dating a psychopath, but she's easily distracted.
I love dogs.
Chip has a full-on Green Goblin moment, confronted by his true self, who's been buried deep within him. He's fed up with having Chip work for Norm, when Norm should be working for Chip instead. So moving forward, he'll continue to use the Norm persona as a cover, as he lurks in the sewers as the revenge-driven Chip Whistler we've come to know. He also smashed his veneer out of his mouth as a way to embrace his true self, more or less being in his Joker era. But it's like, calm down, buddy! Don't you gotta put him back in when you're masquerading as Norm anyway? Also, he has a cool scar on his face after getting into a knife fight with Ratatouille over here. Chip also ropes his former employee, Wholesome Greg, into the mix, info-dubbing this entire backstory to him. Reinvigorated, Chip begins to plot his revenge on the Green family now that they're back in the city. Okay, so like, I'm assuming this dude is still loaded and has access to all of his money, because aside from affording a new home and wardrobe, I gotta imagine that Greg is back on his payroll, just as a henchman and not an employee of Wholesome Foods. Now, I'ma be real with y'all. I'm kinda mixed on this development. On one hand, I love that Chip is back in the picture. He's a super entertaining villain. On the other hand, I'm not super fond of how his return is executed. Part of why I like Chip is that he's a rich asshole, and that enabled the show to explore all the different ways in which communities can overpower corporate greed, even if it feels like a never-ending battle. It would have felt appropriate if Chip managed to reinsert himself into the spotlight with money that he essentially buys back his image, bribing the city folk with gifts and false promises so that they'll love him again. That despite every horrible act he's committed, including trying to kill a child with a helicopter in public, Chip is still able to sway the masses back to his side. And I get wanting to keep things fresh. Have him as a villain without things going back to exactly how they were before. But that doesn't hit the same when we speedrun the entire Norm arc in 11 minutes. I wish they got a little Gravity Fallsy with it. Sprinkle Norm in the background of a few episodes, leading to an episode like this where we're following Norm's day-to-day activities from the get-go instead of a flashback. That we see Norm caught in a time loop of buying coffee, going to work, and eating dinner with his girlfriend. But each time it repeats, it gets a little more unsettling. And when the third loop comes, he finally snaps. And only then do we get confirmation that yes, this Norm character is indeed Chip Whistler trying to gaslight himself into being someone totally new. The audience would have already made the connection that this is Chip just by looking at him, but we wouldn't know what was going on with him for sure. So that Green Goblin scene wouldn't have just been funny, it would have been utterly insane. I also get the need of having the Norm persona since he's banned from the city, but if he's running around in the sewer and acting shady regardless, why even keep this bit around? If he was a teacher at Cricket's school, or if he was working somewhere that was in close proximity to the Greens, I'd get it. But for now, it just seems like something that may only work for this episode, as the audience is already in on the persona, and it wouldn't take long for the Greens to recognize him. Let me be clear, I don't think it's bad. I dig Chip's new look, and despite my nitpicks, I think the episode itself was great. I'm just mixed on this decision, and I want to see where it goes before submitting my feelings on it. So let's take a look at Chip's next appearance in the episode No Escape. The Greens decide to do some family bonding by going to an escape room, blissfully unaware that this activity is actually a trap orchestrated by Chip. How the hell did he plan this? Wait, is this storyline about people who can take advantage of blending in as a normal guy when they really have ulterior motives? Is Chip Actually, Joe Goldberg? First things first, I gotta say, a premise like this is why I love Big City Greens. Escape rooms didn't catch on until the late 2000s, early 2010s. My first experience with one being in the mid 2010s. So that being said, I didn't have any escape room episodes growing up the same way there were sleepover episodes, or episodes built around sneaking into movies, or different fads that were popular at the time. So it's always cool seeing more modern activities like this in Big City Greens, because it not only serves as a snapshot of the culture that kids can look back on in 5 to 10 years, feeling nostalgic for the good old days. But also, when you're a kid, what you're watching can inform you about what's out there in the world. You can be inspired to try something new just because it kinda looked fun in that cartoon you watched. Case in point, me and my friends love going to the Wat Thai Temple in LA after seeing it in an episode of Amphibia. A Saturday morning there always rocks. So despite the high stakes in this episode, I do hope someone watches it and is inspired to try an escape room with their family or friends. They're really fun. Back to the episode, however. Long story short, Chip preys on the family's weaknesses so that they'll split up and find themselves stranded in different rooms, unable to escape. And once they're separated, Chip cranks the manipulation up to 11. Doing his best Jigsaw impression, he presents the Greens with an ultimatum. There's a big red button in each room that when pushed, will free whoever pressed it first, but everyone else will be trapped in their room forever. The family collectively refuses, believing that they are incapable of betraying each other. Only for Cricket to press the button? Oh, come on, man! Except that wasn't really Cricket, it was an actor? Yeah, that even got me.
Thank you for your services.
I hate non-union gigs.
Chip's game isn't over yet, however, as he presents the real Cricket with a chance to push the button. Although he neglects to tell Cricket that pressing the button will lead him directly to his death, as it'll release a flood of snakes to attack the lad. Dude, Chip, I think you either need therapy or to be euthanized. Your choice, bud. Thankfully, Cricket doesn't give in, and instead does his own thing. Scaling up the animatronic, Cricket is able to get into the ceiling and free his family from every room, uplifting them all with a personalized riddle in the process. Chip's plan is foiled yet again, and just like the good old days, he takes the L straight to the face, leaving him with a bigger tooth gap as a result. A bigger Chip! The ending kinda reaffirms to me that this arc would hit a lot harder if they build up to the reveal that Norm is Chip, instead of giving us the backstory from the get-go. Imagine if we didn't see Chip at all in this episode, and we haven't gotten the full story on Norm Alguy. So when the Greens stumble upon the security room, the close-up of Chip's tooth chip would serve as confirmation that he's back in the game and up to no good. Again, it's not a big deal, especially for how silly the show generally is, and it's still very entertaining. I just wish they were a bit more grandiose with how this comeback is presented. That being said, we're only halfway through season 4, and one of the upcoming episodes is titled Chip's Revenge. So this little arc will wrap up in the coming months. I'm curious if it'll end up with Chip either regaining power, being defeated for good, or having a change of heart and actually redeeming himself in the eyes of the Green family, although people would probably hate the latter. None of those directions will surprise me though. But with all that said, what are your thoughts on Chip's return? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.